Imagine that the right to vote for president has never existed. What would it be like to know that there's a person in charge making policy decisions in your best interest? Even more, what would it be like knowing that this person who is supposedly in charge isn't even aware of what your best interests are? Hundreds of thousands of Kentucky high school students are subjected to this silence every day, and it's time for them to speak. Kentucky high school students are the main constituents of the Kentucky public school system. I'm quite aware that many students in northern Kentucky do not have to go to public schools. Their parents can afford to send them to a private school. However, in most other regions of Kentucky, private schools are nowhere to be found. I grew up going to Pulaski County High School, and while it wasn't maybe as nice as some private schools might be, it was still a decent school. But sometimes I felt that my suggestions and ideas were simply not heard. They were drowned out by the other voices and constant communication going between the teachers and the other leaders of the school district. This may not happen with private school, but I know that it definitely occurs within the public school system. And I believe that Kentucky high school students should have the opportunity to be included in the decision-making process of their superintendent. The superintendent is the constant evaluator of the school district. They must be highly qualified in order to ensure the principals and other staff are making the district run smoothly. Their second main important job is to be the manager of the finances for that particular school district. When a superintendent resigns or is fired, a list of qualified candidates are screened by a committee, the members of whom are outlined in the Kentucky law KRS 160.352. This committee interviews and asks the candidates pertinent questions in order to ensure that they are capable for doing the job. But perhaps the most important contributor to this committee is not allowed to participate according to Kentucky law. And as I said, this contributor is the students. Today, I'm going to talk about what KRS 160.352 is, the proposed change and reasons it should be amended, and lastly, how a school district would be affected by this change. KRS 160.352, as I've said, is a Kentucky law which mandates who may and who may not be present on the committee which is responsible for screening superintendent candidates. It became effective in July of 1998. This is who the law mandates may be on the committee. 2 principals, 2 teachers, 1 parent, 1 board member, 1 classified employee, and if the student population of the school warrants it, a minority representative. So, who is not allowed on the committee? Students. Now that we know what the law is, let's talk about why we should change it. Civil engagement is important on all levels. There are many youth and government programs offered all around the country, which train students on the legislative process, how a bill is written, how to present a bill to a committee, different things like that. But one way that Kentucky doesn't allow students to be involved in this process is allowing them to have a fair voice in who is in charge of their school district. The proposed change is to allow school committees to have the option of including a student on the committee. Notice that I said it's just the option. They don't have to or are required to have a student there, but if the students would like to be present on the committee, they must have several recommendation letters from teachers saying that they are qualified and could be capable of being that representative on the committee. Then the student population would have a vote to ensure that that person is actually wanted by that particular student body. This idea was developed by the Pritchard Committee Student Voice Team, a committee which operates in Lexington, Kentucky, and is comprised of a team of middle and high school students working closely with the Pritchard Committee for Academic Excellence. Their mission is to amplify the voices of Kentucky youth on the classroom impact of education policy issues. This is a perfect idea for them, and it's something that they've been working very hard to ensure it gets passed through Kentucky legislature. Maybe you heard a while back about House Bill 236. This is the idea outlined in that bill, but it was unfortunately shot down by many Kentucky legislatures because several senators several senators decided to play a childish game with politics, which is really sad because students really deserve a fair voice on this committee. And there are several reasons why. The most important being that students are the primary constituents of the school districts. They spend 35 hours a week or more in the classroom. They are the best people to ask to know, and then they are the best people to ask for improvements or ideas that could be changed in the school. I know this because I've been through that process, and sadly, it's really discouraging to know that you have ideas that you think that should be heard, but no one really wants to listen. And believe it or not, most high school students do have ideas and opinions for things that are helpful, and this is not always apparent to adult panel members. America is no longer a children should be seen and not heard country. Everybody has ideas to progress America, and high school students are definitely a part of that group. Often school officials get mixed up in the want for profit versus the change and the difference that they can make. They have the obligation to serve for students' best interests, but that's simply not possible when they aren't aware of what those interests are. If this all went into effect, not much would change. As I said, the admission of a student to the committee is entirely the committee's decision, and it is most certainly not required. This idea can only help improve Kentucky's public education system. It will teach that privileged student elected into that position invaluable leadership skills, responsibility, and critical thinking skills, among a host of other things. Today, I have shared with you what KRS 160.352 is, what is proposed to be changed about it, and reasons for doing so, and lastly, how a school district could be improved by amending this bill. When the Kentucky legislature reconvenes in January, please call your local senator and ask for their support of this bill. Your support and your actions can only help improve Kentucky for future generations. Democracy must be learned by each generation. Democracy brings about change and results, but only if every party involved has a fair voice. And right now, students do not.